Hello, and I am so excited to welcome you to this episode of Real Divorce Talks, or this series of Real Divorce Talks. This is the 11th time we have held this little mini summit over, 2.5 years, 2 years since we've been doing this now. And this is really geared towards providing inspiration, education, and motivation for women going through divorce or post-divorce, because we all know there's a lot of healing to do on the other side as well. So I have 6 amazing speakers. Well, we have 5 amazing speakers and me on this event. So I think that we've covered a whole range of different topics, and I think it's going to be something that is really going to resonate with most of my listeners, and I'm sure for all of the guests for most of their communities, tribes, whatever they call them. So I want to start out today. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Marty Winder Adams. I've been a certified divorce coach for over a decade, and I've been a distinguished credentialed mediator for almost 30 years. So I've seen a lot of family conflict, and that's kind of where I focus. And I want to introduce you to our very first speaker for this episode, Dr. Robin Buckley. She helps high achieving people to really thrive in their careers and relationships. She's a cognitive behavioral coach, author, professional speaker, and a TEDx speaker who works with executives, teams, and high performance couples. And more importantly, her latest book, Marriage Inc., The Boardroom Blueprint to a Lasting Love, is coming out on September 18th. So I am so excited to have Dr. Robin here with us today. And before you start talking, Dr. Robin, I'm going to pull myself off the screen here and I'm going to let you take it away.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it. So thank you for everybody for joining us today, whether it's live or whether it's recorded and you're able to join in then. But I thought I'd start out by giving you kind of the irony of why I'm even having this discussion with you. It's really funny that I wrote a book about strategies for successful relationship because I'm twice divorced. Clearly, I did not start out as the poster child for this stuff. Back then, I didn't have a plan. I thought love alone could carry the weight of a marriage. And surprise, surprise, it can't. That's like launching a company with no business plan and just hoping enthusiasm pays the bills. So yeah, the irony isn't lost on me. But those experiences are exactly why I'm so passionate about strategy now. I've lived with what happens when you skip it. And today I'm going to share some strategies from my book, as Marty said, Marriage Incorporated, The Boardroom Blueprint to a Lasting Love, which comes out next week on Amazon. The cool thing is the book isn't theory. It's the playbook I wish I'd had. And don't let the name fool you. It isn't just for married people. So let's start with something businesses know that many couples don't. A vision statement is everything. In business, a vision statement defines where a company wants to go. It guides decision making and it inspires the team. It keeps everyone aligned on the big picture. Without it, companies drift, priorities get lost, and even the most talented employees can end up working at cross purposes. Your current or future relationship deserves the same clarity. A relationship vision statement answers the simple question, where do we want our partnership to be in the future? But it's important to write it down. Make it bold, make it aspirational. It's your North Star, guiding your choices, guiding your conversation, and even guiding how you spend your free time together. So as an example, when I started working with a couple, we're going to call them Sam and Michelle, they hadn't talked about long-term goals in years. They were frustrated and disconnected. After they created a vision statement together, everything changed. They suddenly had a shared destination and could measure their daily actions against it. And then there was Jackie, an individual client I worked with after her divorce. When she wrote her relationship vision statement, she used it in her dating. She'd subtly interject parts of her vision statement into conversations to determine if her date might be aligned with what she was looking for. So when you think about this, and as you're listening, Maybe jot down some concepts that you would build into your own relationship vision statement. Because what I've found about webinars is if you don't do the work during the webinar, it's easy to blow it off and say, oh, I'll get to it later. So ask yourself, what would a satisfying relationship bring to my life? And then take a minute to jot down a few ideas. I mentioned that once you have a vision statement, it's important to measure your daily actions against it. That's what Sam and Michelle did. And that's where KPIs, or what is known as key performance indicators, come in. Now, businesses track KPIs to know if they're hitting their goals. Profit margins, customer satisfaction, product delivery times would all be examples of these. Because without KPIs, it's impossible for a business to know whether they're on track. Well, guess what? Relationships need KPIs too. These are the tangible ways to measure the health of the relationship. So KPIs might be date nights that you've gone to, weekly quality time, shared financial goals met, acts of appreciation, and even intimacy milestones. The couple I mentioned earlier, Sam and Michelle, they started tracking their KPIs. And through that analysis, they discovered that simply connecting and committing to 2 acts of appreciation a day reduced tension and increased closeness dramatically in just 1 month. I mean, think about it. How many of us plan our careers, budget our finances, or schedule vacations in meticulous detail? But when it comes to our relationship, our strategy is basically, let's wing it. Most people assume love alone will carry them through, but anyone married or in a committed relationship for more than 5 minutes knows that's a risky approach. After a divorce, we are all clear that that's a risky approach. Your relationship is the most important organization you'll ever lead. And like any business worth running, it deserves planning, attention, and measurable outcomes. Now, one of the most important tools in business is goal setting. In Marriage Incorporated, I use that same idea to help couples align as a team. Now, we're not talking about vague goals like be happier or spend more time together. That's essentially like a company saying its mission is to make more money. Instead, you get to create SMART goals, and SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Now, this might be something like we'll have a date night every Friday, or we'll stick to our budget for 12 months to get out of debt, or we'll each take up a solo hobby this year so we stop driving each other crazy. These goals act as KPIs for your relationship. And it gets even more fun. You get to check in on your goals by scheduling quarterly check-ins. So just like businesses review performance reports, you review your relationship KPIs. KPIs let you measure progress, celebrate successes, adjust what isn't working, and set new targets. So when you think about a KPI, something that you see as important to making a relationship successful that you'd want to measure, what might that one thing be? Give yourself some time right now and think about what it is and write it down. Again, this isn't just for couples. When we do this work, this preparation work before we're even in a relationship, we are then better and readier for that relationship when it happens. So a big challenge for many relationships is communication. And one of the biggest reasons couples struggle is because they rely on spontaneous conversations that usually happen when someone is tired, stressed, or hangry. Now, you know the kind. It might be, hey, did you pay that bill? Asked at 11 p.m. when you're both half asleep. Or one that I actually hear a lot, intruding in on your partner's home office to discuss a topic while your partner is trying to wrap up their remote workday. Not ideal. These ad hoc conversations often lead to frustration, miscommunication, or resentment. And all of that leads to arguments. Now, businesses figured this out a long time ago. Ad hoc communication leads to chaos in business, which is why businesses schedule meetings and use agendas. Strategic couples can do the same thing. That's why Marriage Incorporated encourages weekly relationship business meeting. Think of it as a scheduled 60 minutes to cover finances, calendars, household responsibilities, upcoming stressors, and yeah, even your emotional and physical connections. So to do this starts with step one. Put the weekly meeting into your calendar. We all know that if it isn't in your calendar, it isn't likely to happen. So make sure you've blocked off time for your weekly relationship meeting. You start by determining a day that it seems like it would work best. A lot of my couples look at their weekends and think that a weekend morning works, but sometimes it doesn't. You try to meet a couple Sundays in a row, something gets in the way. It isn't a time to give up that strategy. It's a time to readjust, reevaluate, and then pick a different day to have your weekly relationship business meeting. And then step two, create your agenda. Now, I understand most of the time when we say agenda, a lot of us cringe, but agendas keep us on track, and it's no different for your relationship business meetings. So you get to choose. Do you use Google Sheets? Do you use a shared notes document on your phones? Or do you just use a simple notebook? Both you and your partner can add items throughout the week. Things that went well, things that didn't, issues you want to talk about, but it allows that everything gets captured and nothing gets forgotten. It also, really importantly, allows you to avoid talking about tense topics in the heat of the moment. So imagine this. You're in the kitchen, you are trying to get maybe dinner ready, and your partner is throwing out a topic, and it is just getting to a point of ineffective communication. Instead of pushing through it, one of you takes the time to just go write it down in whatever that shared document is so that you can address it later. And when you address it later in your relationship business meeting, you tend to come at it more logically and more strategically during your meeting. At the same time, you can also use a SWOT analysis to approach some of your topics in your meeting. Now, if you're not familiar with the SWOT acronym, in business, it stands for four things: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you look at a SWOT analysis as you're talking about some of the topics in your meeting from this perspective. So strengths, what went well during this week? What did we do well? How did we resolve things well? What were the real highlights of the week? Weaknesses, what could we have done better? How could we improve? What do we want to avoid doing that didn't go well? Opportunities, what can we do to grow closer or have more fun? And threats, what are external pressures that might impact our connection? Now, it's important to practice this. So again, I'm going to challenge you. Take 2 minutes right now and think about your week so far. Identify a strength that you had. Identify a weakness. And then identify an opportunity and a potential threat. Again, it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship right now. Doing this for yourself allows you to practice this so that if you decide you want to be in a relationship later on, you've already built this practice in. And if you decide that you want to remain single, then you already have this opportunity for your own self-analysis and evaluation. At the end of the relationship business meeting, whether it's with your partner or with yourself, you get to wrap up with a value acknowledgement. Now, in companies, employees thrive when they're recognized for their efforts. And guess what? Partners are no different. Thank you for handling the grocery shopping this week. I appreciate you taking the time to listen when I was stressed. Or I love how you organize the kids' schedules. These types of verbal appreciations go a long way, and when used consistently, they build trust, closeness, and emotional safety. And again, these are not strategies just for couples. Can you imagine If you did a value acknowledgement at least once a week for yourself, what were the things that you appreciated that you did that made your life easier? It's a great way to celebrate you. And again, great practice for if you decide to be in a relationship in the future. One couple I worked with, we'll call them Mary and Brad, it was amazing to watch the change that happened once they committed to these weekly relationship meetings. Before, their interactions were almost entirely reactive. One would bring up a frustration, the other would get defensive, and arguments would spiral into hours of resentment. They rarely felt heard or appreciated in even small disagreements, like who is responsible for unloading the dishwasher or planning dinner, would escalate into major fights. Mary and Brad started by creating a simple structured agenda using a shared Google Docs. They would each add items throughout the week. Again, things that went well, minor irritations, upcoming stressors, or just topics that they want to discuss. They would check in on the most important parts of their relationship: finances, kids, other dependents like pets or other people that they did caregiving for, their job status, as well as their emotional and physical intimacy, in addition to all the things that came up during the week. But they would wait to bring them up until their business meeting so they could prevent heated moment arguments. In their meeting, they worked through each agenda item logically, strategically, and using a SWOT approach when needed. Mary and Brad also practiced ending each meeting with that value acknowledgement we talked about, and this actually was a game changer for them. I actually remember Mary sharing with me that Brad had thanked her for making him coffee one morning before work when he was particularly tired. And she said, and I'm paraphrasing, "I didn't even think it was a big deal until he said it." And Brad told me that Mary had left him a text message thanking him for suggesting he pick up pizza for dinner so she wouldn't have to cook one evening. What he said was, "It just made sense because I knew she had a big day at work, but after her reaction, I realized just how much pressure that took off her shoulders." Over time, these consistent affirmations shifted the couple from feeling ignored to feeling genuinely seen and respected. And then within just a few weeks, their dynamic transformed. Conversations that used to end in frustration became opportunities to solve problems collaboratively. Even challenging topics like managing finances or scheduling conflicts were approached with a sense of teamwork instead of blame. Mary reflected that they hadn't realized how much tension they were carrying until they felt validated each week. And Brad said that the simple act of acknowledgement made them want to contribute more to the relationship rather than withdraw. Powerful stuff. The structured meetings also create measurable progress. By tracking KPIs, my clients see tangible evidence of improvement. It's not, "I feel like we're getting better," or "it seems like things are improving." It's based on data and evidence. So by the end of the quarter, Brad and Mary reported more laughter, increased intimacy, and even a renewed sense of partnership that was all rooted in the structure and intentionality of their business style approach to love. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, "This all sounds very structured, Dr. Rodman, but what about the romance?" Let's address that. And I really want to address it because I usually joke that when we think about relationships, our framework is often influenced by Disney, Hallmark, and rom-coms. And that's not reality. So when we talk about this structure, I want to remind you, businesses don't just obsess over spreadsheets. They also invest in culture and innovation to keep things fresh. Your relationship needs the same kind of R&D budget. So that's where strategies like a Spark sheet come in. With a Spark sheet, each partner lists 3 ways they feel loved, appreciated, and connected. And then every week, you commit to at least one action from your partner's list. It's very much like a personalized business plan for romance. Instead of getting quarterly profits, you get more kisses, less nagging. maybe even a few lesser arguments about whose turn it is to fold the laundry. And the beauty is the items don't have to be these grand gestures. They can be simple. Bring me tacos. Rub my shoulders while I watch Netflix. Put your phone away at dinner. You can kind of think of it like quality control for your love life. So again, I'm going to challenge you. Give yourself the gift of taking a couple of seconds right now and write down what's one thing you might put on your spark sheet to feel appreciated. What's one thing that you could share with a partner to actually you'd share all three, and then your partner gets to choose which item from the spark sheet he or she wants to use to show their appreciation for you. Now, if you want to take it a step further, Marriage Incorporated also introduces the idea of sensual dailies, and it sounds very similar to a spark sheet, but there's a real specificity around it. See, a lot of people use the term sensual interchangeably with the term sexual, but these are very different concepts. Sexual refers to experiences specific to sexual desire or activity. Sensual refers to experiences that engage the five senses in a way that brings pleasure, comfort, or even emotional connection. Sensuality, it's about enjoying or being fully present in physical or sensory experiences, whether or not they involve sexual arousal. And in regards to the strategy of sensual dailies, each partner creates a list of things that bring them joy or make them feel connected or stimulates their senses from all five senses. So I'm going to give you some examples so it's a little clearer. And let's start with sight. And I'm going to give you a really personal example. I love octopuses. And yes, I have looked up several times because I want to say octopi, but it's actually octopuses. And so because my husband knows that, a while ago, he bought me a small octopus figurine. They usually keep it on my desk, but every so often it goes missing because my husband moves it to a new location. I found it in a lot of different places. I found it in the freezer once. I found it in the bathroom once. I found it stuck in a pocket in a sweater that I regularly wear when I get cold. So it becomes a surprise when I find it and I look at it because it reminds me he was thinking about me. That would be a sensual daily associated with sight. When it comes to the sense of touch, one of my clients loves the feel of a soft, fuzzy blanket. So when she and her wife watch TV, they snuggle under a very specific blanket that taps into this sensual experience for her. For hearing, I'll use another personal example. My husband loves the song Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen. If you don't know it, go look it up on Spotify. So whenever I want to make him smile, I put it on in the speakers throughout our house. The added benefit is I love to hear how he sings it. He tries to impersonate the boss's voice in a gruff, raspy tone, and it makes me smile too. To tap into the sense of taste, another one of my clients loves the taste of a specific tea. So each morning, his wife makes him a cup to start his day. And then when we think about the taste of smell, that's pretty easy. A lot of the couples I work with have candles with specific scents that one or both of them find sensual. Overall, you can think about sensual dailies like a company's employee engagement program. In business, leaders know that teams perform best when employees feel seen, valued, and energized. And they don't just rely on big annual bonuses. They create practices that build morale and connection on a regular basis. These consistent actions increase engagement, they increase loyalty, and they increase overall productivity in business. Sensual dailies work the same way in a relationship. By consistently engaging in these micro engagements, you're investing in your relationship every single day. So just like a company sees the results of an engaged workforce in productivity and collaboration, couples experience deeper emotional connection. They experience more joy, and they do experience stronger intimacy, emotional, maybe even physical, over time. The benefits of this approach are significant. Couples who practice sensual dailies report increased feelings of closeness and connection, even during stressful periods. They have reduced tension and fewer arguments because small needs are being met regularly. And they also experience a sense of heightened anticipation and excitement because partners are actively looking for tangible ways to create joy for each other. And there's a greater awareness of each other's preferences, which deepens empathy and understanding. And yeah, there might be enhanced physical intimacy because sensory engagement becomes intentional rather than incidental. So the goal isn't just to be thoughtful, it's to create consistent, multi-sensory moments that build emotional and potentially physical intimacy. I've had the honor of seeing Sensual Daily's approach transform relationship in ways that are subtle at first, but powerful over time. One couple I worked with had been stuck in a cycle of disconnection and tension. They weren't arguing constantly, but there was a quiet distance, a feeling that they were more roommates rather than partners. But once they started to intentionally use tangible items from each other's lists, a lot shifted. The tangible nature of the items made it impossible to take each other for granted because they could see, hear, touch, taste, and smell the care in ways that went beyond words. So, again, I'll challenge you. What are your sensual dailies? Create a list. Write down all five senses and then add things. This isn't a one-time deal. Add them as you think about them. Add them as you experience them. Because again, if you choose to be in a relationship in the future, then you can share it with your partner. If you're in a relationship right now, you can share them with your partner and hopefully hear what their sensual dailies are. And if you're not in a relationship, you can remind yourself, what are the things that bring you joy? And do those things or incorporate those things into your environment so that you bring joy or happiness or a moment of mindfulness to yourself. Now, if you're still experiencing some doubt about this business framework to a relationship, if structure seems like it'll hurt the relationship, I want you to consider this. Structure doesn't kill romance. It protects it. Systems don't replace passion. Systems remove friction so your energy can go towards connection instead of conflict. When couples implement intentional actions, they often rediscover the joy, the playfulness, and the closeness that may have been missing from their relationship for months or even years. One couple that I just started working with about a month ago have been married for 31 years. And when I asked them when was the last time they felt joy in their relationship, they both said approximately 28 years ago after the birth of their second child. 28 years with no joy. They still wanted to be together. They liked each other. They just didn't have the connection and the spark anymore. So they started some of these strategies. And while we haven't seen the long-term effects, they are starting to laugh more. They're starting to enjoy being around each other more. And that's progress. Now, I keep referencing the fact that Marriage Incorporated isn't just for couples. It's for anyone who's tired of learning the hard way, like me. Remember? Twice divorced. If you're single or dating, this is your chance to use a playbook instead of relying on blind luck, hope, or sheer charm to find someone who actually fits. So I'm going to give you a couple strategies for if you're in that situation. In businesses, companies create an ideal customer avatar, also known as an ICA. And an ICA's purpose is to focus on the right audience and stop wasting time, money, and energy on people who are unlikely to become loyal customers. In dating, you can do the same thing with an ideal companion avatar, also ICA for short. Think of an ICA like a blueprint for the kind of partner who complements you and aligns with your values, your lifestyle, and your long-term goals. Your ICA is a detailed picture of your ideal partner. It includes everything from big picture qualities like honesty, ambition, shared core values, to smaller but certainly meaningful things like whether they laugh at your dumb jokes, or if they enjoy your favorite activity, or if they'll tolerate your obsession with spicy food, to make it actionable. Because remember, we're not talking about theory, we're talking about things you can actually do. I'd encourage you to divide your ICA into two categories: non negotiables and negotiables. Non negotiables are deal breakers. It might be things like wanting to have kids, or integrity, or shared priorities around money. Negotiables are things that are nice to have, like enjoying hiking, liking a certain type of music, or being okay with your weekend rituals. Please keep in mind that your negotiables and non negotiables are yours. They aren't based on some overall standard. It's what is important to you and what are the things that you can be more flexible about. Now, here's where your board of directors comes in. So just like a business relies on trusted advisors to give objective feedback or insider insight, you can ask the people who know you best, your friends, your family, maybe even mentors, to help refine your ICA. They can point out patterns in past relationships that you might not have noticed. They can call out qualities that are deal breakers you've been ignoring. Or they might even validate traits you truly need, but might have underestimated.
Fascinating discussion. Before we let you go, though, will you tell us a little bit about your gift?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share my screen really quick.
I mean, so many great ideas of putting the business model into relationships. So tell us a little bit about this, and then we're going to go right on to Micah right away.
Absolutely. So what you see on the screen now is a QR code. It will allow me to gather some feedback from all of you, but more importantly, it gives you a discount code for my book. So it gives you 20% off the book. You'll be able to get it faster than you will on Amazon. And I really appreciate all of you who are here, all of you who are listening on recording, and I look forward to answering any questions offline.